All right. We're going to dive deep into Atomic Habits by James Clear today.
Yeah.
And we're really going to like get into the nitty-gritty of what this book has to offer.
Absolutely.
So
it's not just skimming the surface.
it's not just like the Cliff Notes version. Right?
No. This is like we're going deep.
We are getting our hands dirty today.
Yes, we are.
But in a fun way.
In a fun and practical way.
In a fun and practical way.
That's right.
Because it's all about taking action.
Exactly.
And actually making those changes in our lives.
So you can actually use this stuff.
So yeah, you can actually use this stuff.
Yeah.
And what better place to start than with James Clear's own story?
Oh, absolutely.
Right.
I mean, talk about a story that really embodies the principles of the book.
Okay, so I'm picturing like your typical self-help guru.
Yeah.
Right? And maybe
I've always had it figured out.
they've always had it figured out.
Yeah.
They've never struggled a day in their lives.
Yeah.
And then we're like, here's the secret.
Exactly.
But James Clear's story is so different.
Completely different.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so picture this, right?
Okay.
You've got this high school athlete,
Okay.
star baseball player, the whole 9 yards, like at the top of his game, right?
Yeah.
And then bam,
Oh.
freak accident.
Okay.
And I mean like a serious accident.
We're like seriously injured?
Seriously injured, like laundry list of injuries.
Oh, wow.
Medically induced coma.
Oh my gosh.
This is like life or death stuff, right?
Wow. Yeah.
And you know, he comes out of it, but he can barely walk.
Oh my God.
Like he can barely walk a straight line, let alone hit a home run.
It's like starting from scratch.
Exactly. Like his whole life has changed. And what I find so inspiring about his story is that he didn't give up.
No.
He didn't let this define him.
Right.
He used it as fuel to rebuild his life.
Wow.
And not just rebuild it, but to actually like come back even stronger.
Oh, wow.
You know, and he did that through these principles.
Through Atomic Habits.
Through Atomic Habits. And and I think that's what makes the book so powerful.
Yeah.
It's not just theory, it's like lived experience.
Right. It's like battle tested.
Yes, exactly.
So tell me a little bit more about like how did he actually start to make that comeback?
So it wasn't like this overnight success story.
Right.
You know, he didn't just wake up one day and suddenly he was back to his old self.
Yeah.
It was this slow and steady process of making these tiny 1% improvements.
Okay, so like baby steps.
Baby steps.
Okay.
But the thing is, like, when you do those baby steps consistently, over time, they compound.
They compound.
Like compound interest.
Oh, that's a great analogy.
Yeah. Because you know how compound interest works with money, right?
Yes.
You start with a little bit.
And it grows exponentially.
Exactly. Over time. And it's the same with habits.
That's it.
Like those tiny changes, they might not seem like much in the beginning.
Yeah.
But over time, they can have this massive impact.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So it sounds like it's really about playing the long game then.
It is.
Not about like quick fixes or overnight transformations.
Exactly.
Right? It's about those small...
It's the compound effect.
The compound effect.
Yes.
Of consistency.
Absolutely.
Okay, and this actually leads us to a point that I think is really interesting and maybe even a little bit counterintuitive.
Okay.
Which is Clear's argument against a goals-first mentality.
Oh, interesting.
Right. I like where you're going with it.
Because we hear so much about setting goals, right? Like vision
boards.
boards.
Manifesting your dream life.
All that stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it can be easy to get caught up in that.
Totally.
But Clear is saying, actually, maybe that's not the best approach.
Maybe.
So I'm curious to hear more about that.
Yeah.
Like, why is that?
Why is that?
Yeah.
Well, because goals can actually be a trap.
Oh,
right.
A trap. How so?
Well, think about it like this. If you have a leaky faucet in your kitchen,
okay,
are you going to fix that by just constantly mopping up the water?
Okay, that's a good point now.
No.
You have to fix the leak.
You have to fix the source of the problem.
Right.
And it's the same with our habits and our goals.
Okay.
Like if we're just focused on the goal, we're just mopping up the water.
I see.
We're not actually addressing the underlying system.
The system that's causing the leak in the first place.
Exactly.
So instead of focusing on the end result, like let's say losing 10 pounds.
Okay.
Or getting that promotion.
Right.
It's about building the systems.
Yeah.
That will get us there.
That will actually create lasting change.
Okay, I like that.
Right.
So it's not about the destination.
It's about the journey.
It's about the journey.
Yeah.
Okay, I can get behind that.
And often those systems are built on these tiny, almost mundane habits.
Okay.
It's not about this massive overnight overhaul.
Right.
It's about identifying those small, consistent actions
Okay.
that will compound over time.
Okay, so it all comes back to that compound effect.
It always does?
It always does.
Yeah.
Okay, I love it.
It's the magic of small changes.
Small changes, big results.
Big results.
All right, I'm sold.
All right, good.
So
I'm glad you're on board.
I'm on board. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
So how do we actually build those systems,
Right.
those tiny habits
Yeah.
that lead to those big changes?
That's the $1 million question, right?
That is the $1 million question.
Yeah.
And I think this is where Clear's 4 laws of behavior change come in.
Okay. Yeah.
It's like the recipe.
It's a framework.
It's a framework for building habits.
Exactly.
And I love a good framework.
Me too. It makes it actionable, right?
It makes it actionable.
Yeah.
So let's break it down.
Yeah.
What's the first law?
So the first law is the cue.
The cue.
Yeah.
Okay, so what do you mean by the cue?
So think of it like the starting pistol in a race,
Okay.
right? It's that signal that tells your brain, okay, it's time to start this habit sequence.
Okay.
It's like the trigger.
So it could be anything, really.
It could be any.
Like a specific time of day
Yeah,
or like a visual trigger,
absolutely.
like seeing your
phone light up.
seeing your phone light up,
Yeah.
or I don't know,
Or that bag of chips on the counter.
that bag of chips on the counter.
Yeah,
Maybe we should put that away.
maybe.
Before we-
Out of sight, out of mind, right?
Out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly.
But it's amazing how much our environment can influence our habits without us even realizing it,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Subconsciously.
Subconsciously.
Yeah.
Like if I walk into my kitchen and there's a plate of cookies sitting out,
No.
I mean,
Well, you're
it takes Herculean effort to not grab one.
Right.
But if I walk in and there's a bowl of fruit,
Okay.
I'm much more likely to make a healthy choice.
See, you're setting yourself up for success.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we've got the cue.
The cue.
That's our starting pistol.
Yeah.
What's next?
So next comes the craving.
The craving.
Yes, the second law.
Okay.
And this is basically the desire. That arises in response to the cue.
Okay, so it's like the cue triggers the craving.
Yeah, exactly. So you see that bag of chips.
Yeah.
You get that craving for something salty and crunchy.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And let's be real. Our brains are hardwired to seek pleasure and avoid pain.
Right.
That's just how we're wired.
Survival mechanism.
Exactly.
And it keeps us alive.
It keeps us alive.
Exactly.
But Clear gives this kind of crazy example in the book
Oh, yeah.
about how food companies engineer their products
I love this example.
to be absolutely irresistible.
Oh, yeah. Right. They know what they're doing.
They know exactly what they're doing. They've got it down to a science.
They have it down to a science.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about that.
So they spend millions of dollars on research.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Figuring out the perfect combination of salt, sugar, and fat
Okay.
to trigger those primal cravings in our brains.
Oh, wow.
It's like they've cracked the code.
So it's not an accident
Oh, no.
that bag of chips is so addictive.
It's engineered for addiction.
Wow.
Yeah,
I mean, it's marketing genius,
it is.
but also kind of evil.
Right.
Right.
A little bit.
A little bit.
Yeah.
But the point is, understanding how those cravings work
Yes.
is crucial if we want to break bad habits.
Absolutely.
Right.
And form good ones.
Okay, so we've got the cue.
Yep.
We've got the craving.
The craving.
What's the third law? The third law is the response.
The response.
Yeah, and this is the actual habit itself.
So it's the action you take.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the cue triggers the craving.
Yep.
The craving leads to the response.
Clue.
Makes sense, right?
Yeah, so it's like a chain reaction.
like a domino effect.
A domino effect.
Yeah.
Okay.
But here's the thing.
Okay.
If the response requires too much effort,
Okay.
you're less likely to do it.
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
It's like if you're trying to run a marathon
Okay.
with a backpack full of rocks,
Oh, gosh.
right?
Right.
You might start strong,
Okay.
but you're going to burn out quickly.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's where this concept of friction comes in.
Fiction.
Yeah. So Clear talks about reducing friction for good habits.
Okay. And increasing it for bad ones.
Okay. So make good habits easy
Easy.
and bad habits hard.
Hard.
Okay. I like that.
Right.
It sounds simple.
It is simple, but
Okay.
it's powerful.
It's powerful.
Yeah. So one strategy he talks about is habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
So it's like you're hitching a ride
Yeah.
on an existing habit.
Okay.
So let's say you want to start meditating every morning.
Okay.
right?
Yeah, I should probably do that.
Me too.
But it's hard to create a new habit from scratch, right?
Sure.
So instead of trying to do that, try tacking it on to something you already do.
Okay.
Like brushing your teeth.
Okay.
So every morning when you brush your teeth,
Okay.
you meditate for 5 minutes.
Okay. So you're just like piggybacking on an existing habit.
Exactly.
That's a great idea.
Right.
Okay. And then another tactic that I've heard you talk about is environment design.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Environment design is huge.
So tell me a little bit more about that.
So remember those tempting cookies we were talking about?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Please tell me I can still have cookies.
You can still have cookies,
Okay, good.
but maybe not on the counter.
Not on the counter.
Right.
Okay.
Out of sight, out of mind.
Out of sight, out of mind.
It's so true.
Yeah.
So if you don't want to eat the cookies,
Okay.
don't keep them in the house.
Don't buy them.
Don't buy them. Exactly.
Right.
Right. Or if you're trying to be more productive, create a dedicated workspace
Okay.
that's free from distractions.
So no scrolling social media while I'm working.
Maybe not.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
It's all about setting yourself up for success.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got the cue.
Yep.
The craving.
The craving.
The response.
Right.
And the
That's pretty
response.
good.
And then finally, the fourth law,
The reward.
the reward.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the payoff.
This is the payoff.
Right. It's what tells our brain, hey, I did a good job. Let's do that again.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's that dopamine hit
Yes.
that makes it all worthwhile.
The dopamine hit.
Yes.
I love it.
And it doesn't have to be anything crazy,
Okay.
right? It doesn't have to be like this big, elaborate reward. Often the simplest rewards are the most effective,
Okay. Like what?
like checking off a task on your to-do list,
Oh, yeah.
right? There is something so satisfying about like physically marking something as done,
It's so true.
right?
I don't know what it is.
It's like a little dopamine hit.
It is a little dopamine hit.
Yes.
Your brain is like, yes, I did it.
I did it.
Give me another one.
Give me another one.
Right.
Okay, I love that.
Yeah.
And Clear also talks about like the power of visual cues
Yes.
for tracking progress.
Absolutely.
So like those habit trackers
Yes.
that we talked about earlier,
Those are great.
right?
Yeah.
They really tap into that.
They make it visual.
Yeah.
Which is really powerful for our brains.
Like you can actually see the progress.
Exactly. Yeah. And that can be really motivating.
It can be.
Yeah.
And you know what's so cool about Atomic Habits? It goes beyond just like the mechanics of habit formation.
Yeah.
Like we've talked about cues, cravings, responses, rewards.
Right.
But Clear doesn't stop there.
It goes deeper.
He goes deeper.
Yeah.
He brings in this whole idea of identity.
Ooh, I like this part.
Right.
This is huge.
So it's not just about what you do.
Right.
It's about who you believe you are
Exactly.
and how those two things are connected.
Yes, because our habits, they're a reflection of our self-image.
Okay, so like if I see myself as someone who's disorganized and always running late,
Yeah.
I'm probably going to keep hitting that snooze button.
Probably.
Right.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to live out this identity that doesn't match your habits.
Interesting.
Right.
So how do we change that?
Well, the good news is we can use this to our advantage. Instead of focusing on changing the behavior,
Yeah.
we shift our focus to changing the underlying belief.
Okay, so instead of saying,
Yeah.
I want to be more organized,
Right.
you would say, what?
What would an organized person do?
Oh, I like that.
Ah,
It's subtle, but it's powerful,
it is.
right?
Yeah.
Because you're basically aligning your habits with your desired identity.
Exactly.
And that creates this positive feedback loop,
It does.
right?
Yeah.
Start to see yourself
Yeah.
as the kind of person who embodies those habits.
Right. And then it becomes easier to stick with them.
Okay, I love it.
It's like you're stepping into a new version of yourself,
A new me.
a new you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can get behind that.
Who doesn't want to know them?
Right.
All right.
And this actually leads us to another really interesting concept in the book, which is this idea of finding your zone of genius.
Oh,
Right.
yeah. This is good stuff.
So Clear argues that it's not just about working harder.
Right.
It's about working smarter.
Yes.
By focusing on what he calls a game where the odds are in your favor.
Okay, I like that.
Right.
So play to your strength.
Play to your strengths.
Exactly.
And he uses this example
Which one?
of Laszlo Polgar,
Oh, yeah. The chess master.
the chess master,
Yeah.
who basically raised his 3 daughters to be chess prodigies.
Talk about an unconventional upbringing, right?
Right, like chess was the family business.
Exactly. Yeah.
But his experiment kind of proved a point,
What's that?
which is that
Yeah.
while genetics play a role,
Yeah.
it's really about finding those areas
Yeah.
Where you have a natural inclination.
Yeah, like what lights you up?
What lights you up?
What are you naturally drawn to?
Yeah.
What are you obsessed with?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then going all in on those things?
Exactly, because those are the areas where you're most likely to excel.
It makes sense.
Right. It's not about limiting yourself.
Right,
it's
right.
about focusing your energy where it's most likely to flourish.
So it's about finding those things.
Yeah.
Where you can really thrive.
Yes.
Okay.
And where you can fall in love with the boredom
Oh, yeah.
of getting better.
That's a good one.
Right.
Fall in love with the boredom.
Because it's not always going to be exciting.
Right. It's about showing up even when it's not glamorous.
Exactly.
And that brings us to the heart of atomic habits.
Let's hear it.
And a question for you to ponder
Okay.
as you go about your day.
Right.
What one habit, okay, if you mastered it consistently, would have the biggest positive impact on your life?
That's a good question.
What's your 1%
What's that one thing?
that you could change?
Yeah.
That would make all the difference.
I love that.
Right.
It's such a powerful question.
And it could be something small.
It could be tiny.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe it's waking up 15 minutes earlier to meditate,
Okay.
or reading for 10 minutes before bed,
Yeah.
or even just drinking an extra glass of water each day.
Right. The small things can make a big difference.
Because it all comes back to that compound effect.
It always does.
It always does.
Yeah.
Those tiny actions, those 1% improvements,
Right.
they're the building blocks of extraordinary change.
They are. I love it. So go out there, find your 1% improvement, and watch in amazement as the compound effect takes hold.
This has been an incredible deep dive into atomic habits.
It really has.
And we can't wait to see what amazing transformations you create.
Yes, go forth and build those atomic habits.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing.
And
And remember, tiny changes, remarkable results.
we'll see you then.